It's the matchup presented by Draftkings. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day, and welcome back in. We are back. Took a little short hiatus, but we're back just in time for, wait for it now, the Masters. The Masters, middle of November. Here we are getting ready to see who's going to win the green jacket. In fact, we have two Masters coming up in a 6-month span. I'm excited. I've already filled out some of my lineups. I want to share with you some of the picks, some of the people that I'm looking at, so you too can win some money. Now, if this is your first time watching the show and you've never played before, go to the App Store, download the Draftkings app, and use promo code Travis, and you'll get a shot at millions of dollars playing fantasy golf. This week in the Millie Maker, the big one, $4 million total purse, $1 million to the winner. Download the app, promo code Travis, and you get a shot at millions of dollars. There's all kinds of ways to play DraftKings. They are the leader in daily fantasy sports. Now, the way that I like to break this down with each event, the first thing that we got to talk about, of course, is the golf course and my model. Some of the things that I'm looking at as we approach the beginning of the Masters. The golf course, we know, is one of a kind. Experience matters here. It's a golf course that is going to play very wet, a lot of rain. And I mean a lot of rain is in the forecast. They do have the sub-air system. They can pump some of that out. But I think this golf course is going to play wet, and I think it's going to play about as long as it possibly can. So who does that favor, right? You get into the model. If you watch my stuff on Instagram at Travis Fulton Golf, you know I like to move the model around, and there's different components to the model. This week, strokes gained off the tee. Distance, I've moved way up right there with strokes gained approach. We know strokes gained approach is the most important statistic in golf, in particularly at Augusta. You have got to win the approach game at Augusta National, but with the length, the current trend in the game, the soft conditions, we've got to move strokes gained off the tee, that distance component, way up there with strokes gained approach. Now, underneath that, strokes gained putting. I need some experience here around the greens. Where Augusta might get a little complicated, right, for those first-time comers, and we do have some players to talk about their first time on property at Augusta National. Matthew Wolff, Colin Morikawa, Scotty Scheffler. Is that experience into these greens, around the greens, and on the greens? I need some experience there with the strokes gained putting on and around the greens. But make no mistake, Augusta National, it's going to fit right into the mold of the current trend. Length, huge advantage here with the soft conditions. You can spray it here. There's no rough. We need a strong approach game. We need experience around and on the greens. So let's get to it. Who am I looking at? Let's look at the top dollar value picks first, according to DraftKings. Segment number one, we look at the favorites. Let's get right to it here on the matchup. The favorite coming into the 2020 Masters is Bryson DeChambeau. No surprise, he's bringing that 190 ball speed to Augusta National, carrying it 365 yards. You hit it that far, you have the advantage on any golf course that you play. Bryson taking the long irons out of golf. Going to be interesting how he attacks some of these holes, no question about it. I think two questions for Bryson DeChambeau as he comes into this event. The first is, are you comfortable if you play Bryson with the layoff? We saw him at the Shriners. That was a month ago. Of course, the tournament before that was the U.S. Open. But it's been a month, right? Is there going to be a little rust there since we've seen him? The second is how is he going to play with that 48-inch driver? Is he going to put it into play? It's easy to think right now with Bryson that he can do no wrong. Everything that he does is just going to continue to add to things, and it very well could. But adding 2 to 2.5 inches on your driver is no joke. There's a difference there in squaring the face. Will he put it into play? Personally, I hope he doesn't. He's already the longest. We know that he can overpower a golf course like he did at Wingfoot. So it will be interesting to see what he does. T29 in 2019, T38 in 2018 at the Masters. He hasn't played that well here but this is a different Bryson DeChambeau coming into 2020. Justin Thomas comes in next at 10,700. He's getting better at Augusta. JT now has certainly moved into now that top shelf, consistent player, one of the best in the world. But you look at him here at Augusta, historically, 2016, he was T39. 2017, he was T22. 2018, he was T17, and then 2019, he was T12. So progressively better, but looking for a top 10, paying top price. JT still figuring some things out, really, at Augusta. We know he's got the length. We know he's an incredible iron player. The approach game is there. But can he make enough putts on these complex greens? Historically, he hasn't. Perhaps he does this year, but I think I'll pass on JT. Here comes Jon Rahm next at 10,500. He was fourth in 2018. He was T9th back in 2019. Jon Rahm now, his next step as that world-class player is getting that major championship, as Justin Thomas did there just a few years back. Jon Rahm, he was the number one amateur player. Then he became the number one player in the world after his win at the Memorial earlier this year. We've seen him win across the world on the European Tour, including the Order of Merit last year. We've seen him win here on the States. Incredible stuff. Incredible play that we saw down the stretch in the FedEx Cup. Jon Rahm, this is a good venue for him. He's played well here in his limited starts. Drives it well. Good iron player. Great around the greens and on the green. Jon Rahm's going to be certainly in some of my lineups. There's Rory McIlroy at 10,200. I guess if you could be somewhat under the radar coming in to complete your Grand Slam, win a major championship, a green jacket in November to finish it off, this would be the season to do that, right? 2020, everything's kind of backwards here. Rory's played well here. He's been close. Fourth in 2015, top 10s in 16 and 17. 2018, he was tied for fifth. Didn't play great last year. 2019, he was T21. But for Rory, you just get the feeling that if he can just get the approach game going, he's going to be hitting it high and long. We know that. He has the advantage off the tee. It's the approach game. That's where he's been struggling. We know there's been some things happening in his life off the golf course. But perhaps he's at peace with that now, and he comes in and he reestablishes the approach game. And if he does that, Rory McIlroy will be there come late on Sunday. And finally, we make it to Dustin Johnson, my pick to win the 2020 Masters. He's all the way down at 10,000. I mean, how about that? A little slap in the face here to DJ. You got these other four guys ahead of him, and DJ coming in at 10,000. I've got the dual computer system going here this week because it is a major championship. So as I pull this up and I look at Dustin Johnson, perhaps if this will work here, there it is. And we look at Dustin Johnson, right? And we look at the play that he has had. We go back to the PGA. He was second. He got beat by Colin Morikawa. He played good at the PGA. Morikawa just played better on Sunday. He wins the Northern Trust. Second at the BMW. Jon Rahm makes that long putt, as I talked about earlier. Incredible play from Rahm. He gets second at the BMW, does DJ. He wins the Tour Champion, the FedEx Cup. Sixth at the U.S. Open. Little rusty out of the gate in Houston on Thursday, but battles back and finishes second at Houston. He's healthy post-COVID. Coming in, he has figured out how to play Augusta National. He was tied for second here last year. Dustin Johnson will be in a lot of my picks. Of the favorites, give me DJ. Give me some of Jon Rahm. I'll probably sprinkle Rory in there a little bit. But make no mistake, DJ wins the green jacket. Segment number 2, let's get into the 9,000, starting with Xander Schauffele at 9,800. Xander gets a ton of play in fantasy golf every week because he has no weaknesses, right? I mean, he's just such a solid and consistent player. You look at Xander coming into here. He was tied for second last year in 2019. It's interesting listening to other PGA Tour players talk about other players. A lot of players on tour think Xander Schauffele is the best player on the PGA Tour. And like Jon Rahm, his next step is getting that major championship. At the Zozo, he was 17th. second at the CJ Cup. He was fifth at the U.S. Open, second at the Tour Championship. He loves Eastlake there in Atlanta. But you look at his stats. I think what really stands out to me is how well Xander has putted. We're talking strokes gained putting here. At Eastlake, he was +7. At the U.S. Open, +6. CJ Cup, +6. Zozo, +0.1. But a good run here of putting for Xander Schauffele. If he can keep that going, he's long enough. He has the approach game. Xander's got to get a little bit of play. Koepka's coming in at 9,700. I don't know. I'm probably going to fade Koepka. I know he was T5 last week in Houston, but, he's still in pain here with the knee. Augusta National's a tough course to walk. It just feels like one of those years, for Brooks. Kind of ate his words at the PGA, some of the things he had to say. He's missed a lot of time due to injury. Things just haven't lined up for him, and I don't think they'll line up for him at Augusta. There's Patrick Cantlay, 9,600. Cantlay was first at the Zozo, had a win there just a little while ago. You look at him, T9, 2019 at Augusta, missed the cut back in 2018. If we take a little deeper look, Cantlay's best surface in putting is certainly on bent grass greens. But a little bit of up and down, not that, you think of Cantlay, you think of that reserve, kind of flatline player, always there. But 43rd at the U.S. Open, missed the cut at the Northern Trust, 43rd at the PGA. But he was 38 at the CJ Cup, and then he comes back and wins the Zozo. Very solid performance there. So, I think Cantlay is going to get a little bit of play. I'll probably pass on him here. But it certainly wouldn't be surprising to see him in the top 10. There's Morikawa, 9,500. He's a first-time player here at Augusta, but really not playing well. I mean, you look at Morikawa, and we get into his stats. Here we go, right over here. Colin, tough stretch right now. 50th at the Zozo, 12th at the CJ, missed the cut at the Shriners, missed the cut at the U.S. Open. You can point to the putter, but the ball striking really hasn't been that good as well. At the Zozo, he lost 7.3 in putting, so the putter is certainly giving him fits. He's back on bent grass greens, which he does better with, but I'm going to pass on the youngster first time at Augusta, Colin Morikawa. There's Hatton. If you follow me here on this show, you know I've played Tyrrell Hatton for years. The difference now is you got to pay for him. You used to get him at 7,500, 76, and there he is at 9,400. Not much to show here at Augusta. T56 last year, T44 back in 2018. He's a great putter. Like I talk about Hatton, how good of a putter he is, but not particularly on bent grass, on bent grass. And he really hasn't putted well here. So I'm probably going to fade Tyrrell and pass on him at 94 this year. There's Webb at 9,300. I think he's finishing Augusta out. You see a lot of these players, it takes them a little time. I talked about Justin Thomas earlier, great player, hasn't played that great here. He's kind of figuring it out. Same thing with Dustin Johnson to some degree. And it's been the same with Webb, who's certainly a world-class player. Missed the cut back in 2017, T20 2018, but a T5 last year. His worst surface putting, though, is bent. So you kind of get the feeling maybe with Webb, not 100% comfortable on these greens and is going to be giving up a fair amount of distance. The wet conditions, I'm probably going to pass on Webb Simpson as well. Here comes Patrick Reed, 9,200, 2018 champ. Patrick, always an interesting player to look at. He's his best surface putting is bent. We know he can putt these greens as he did back in 2018. 14th at the Zozo, 13th at the U.S. Open, 8th at the Tour Championship. Kind of rounding into form. Didn't play great in the playoffs. 40th at the BMW, 49th at the Northern Trust. But I do kind of like how Patrick Reed is trending. Things can get messy, and all of a sudden you kind of see Patrick Reed just kind of grinding it out here through the rain, the difficult conditions. I think I'm going to be playing some Patrick Reed at 9,200. Tiger Woods coming in at 91. 4 green jackets. I just can't play Tiger Woods at 9,100. Give me Tiger Woods at 8,000. I would consider it, but I can't play Tiger. I mean, you're just throwing a dart at the wall if you play Tiger Woods. He's shown no form. He's played very little. But, you know, his putting, at some point, you've got to start making some putts. He knows these greens, obviously, but I'd be surprised to see Tiger Woods up there. There's Bubba at 9,000. I think Bubba's an interesting play. I really do. And I'll be playing some Bubba at 9,000, 2 green jackets. He knows this place very well and showing great form. I mean, he's really had a nice stretch. 18th at the Northern Trust, 16th at the BMW. The U.S. Open, he didn't putt well, lost 6.6 to the field in strokes gained, still finished 31st. CJ Cup, he was 7th, putted better. Zozo, he was 4th, putted better. I think Bubba is hitting the ball exceptionally well. I really do. I think he's really hitting his driver well. His approach game is fantastic. I think he comes in with a lot of confidence with his ball striking. I think if he does anything at all with the putter, and we know he can putt these greens, his distance with the way the course is going to be playing, I think you got to take a hard look at Bubba. That rounds out the 9K. So for me, looking at the 9Ks, I'll be playing some Bubba. I'll be playing a little bit of Patrick Reed, and I'll be playing a little bit of Cantlay and Xander Schauffele. Segment number 3, let's move into the 8,000s. Former Masters champion Adam Scott kicks us off, 8,900. Tony Finau, 8,800. There's Hideki, good week last week at Houston at 87. Fleetwood hasn't been playing that well, 8,600. Matthew Wolff, 85. Jason Day, 8,400. Sergio is out with COVID at 8,300. There's Spieth, 82. Fowler, 81. And Paul Casey, who has played well here over the last 4 or 5 years at 8,000. I'll give you 3 names out of that group that I'm looking at, starting with my man, I'm such a homer, Tony Finau at 8,800. It's the 3rd time for Finau now at Augusta National. 2018 T10, 2019 T5. Let's go back to the model that I established earlier in the show. Want some length, right? Strokes gained off the tee. Give me that length. Bryson's the longest, but if Finau wanted to be, he would be the longest. We know he can pump it out there. Bryson has gotten the attention of many players. I think Finau is one of them. So he checks the distance box. Approach game, very solid, right? He can hit these high shots into these greens. He checks that box. Finau, experience around and on the greens. 3rd year, clearly has managed it extremely well. 2 top 10 finishes. I don't think Finau gets enough credit for some of the improvement that he has made with his putter. I don't need Finau to win. I need Finau to finish, top 5 would be nice again, but why not? Let's get that second wing, Tony Finau. We know that he's not great situationally. He's missing a few things down the stretch. There's no reason he shouldn't have won at the Waste Management. Webb played good, but Finau needed to birdie one of the last 4 holes in that stretch. He certainly could have done that. He's playing some good golf. 11th at the Zozo, 8th at the U.S. Open, 5th at the BMW, 4th at the PGA, 8th at Memorial. He's had some good finishes. Wouldn't be surprised to see another top 10. But how about a green jacket? How about have a weekend Tony Finau situationally and get us a green jacket? Another guy I'm looking at in the 8,000s is Jason Day, 8,400. I've been trying to talk myself out of this pick. I don't know why. Jason Day, it's interesting. You look at him back in the summer. We come back post-COVID. He splits it off with Colin Swatton, his longtime coach, mentor. He was on the bag for many years. And all of a sudden, Jason Day just starts playing great golf again, finds his approach game, 7th at Workday, 4th at Memorial, 6th at WGC St. Jude, 4th at the PGA, and just crushing it. The approach game, that's been his knock here at Augusta. Can you get the approach game going? We know he's brilliant around the greens and on the greens. He's long enough. A little bit of a tough stretch here as of late, but he showed those signs again at Houston, finished 7th. Very strong tee to green. Strong in the approach game, +2. Strong around the greens, +4.5. Strong on the greens, +2.2. He was T20 back in 2018, and he was T5 last year. T5. I can't talk myself out of it. I like Jason Day at 8,400. And then how about Matthew Wolff? He's the 3rd name I'll give you in the 8,000s. be alarmed by the last two outings, 50 at that Zozo, 73rd at CJ. Strokes gained off the tee, lost 3.5 at Zozo, 4.5 at CJ. Didn't drive it well. Just kind of out of nowhere. He starts struggling with the driver. We need Matthew Wolff to get the driver back. If he can, he's long enough. He's good in the approach game. And I think he's shown some real maturity and growth this year. He surprised me a little bit. I got to be honest. 4th at the PGA, 2nd at the U.S. Open. That's some heady stuff. I mean, that's some really heady stuff. Get the driver going again. I think Matthew Wolff is a good play at Augusta. No fans. You can't tell me that these first-time players, Colin Morikawa winning at the PGA, used to playing in college like Wolff. There's not as much added pressure. You're not going to have the roars down the stretch at Amen Corner. So I like a Matthew Wolff here at the Masters. Why not a top 10? First time out, just like Tony Finau back in 2018. So those are 3 names for me that I'll be playing. I look down and I keep seeing this Spieth name at 8,200, but you know what? I'm going to pass. Segment number 4, we're into the 7,000s now. Now we got to get some of those value picks going, right? And depending upon how you play the top end is really where now a lot of these picks towards the bottom you're going to need. Now, if you watch this show, we've done really well here late into the shows with these value picks. I'm not going to go through every name here in the 7,000s and into the 6, but I think there's a few guys here that I want to point out. First is Scottie Scheffler. Now, I think Scottie Scheffler is an interesting person coming into Augusta National. It's going to be his first time. He is the Rookie of the Year on the PGA Tour. And, you look at what he did back in August, incredible play. 15th at St. Jude, 4th at the PGA, 4th at the Northern Trust, 5th at the Tour Championship. He's kind of come off that a little bit. Of course, had COVID. He's back now. Houston Open. He finished 32nd. I think it'd be interesting. Scottie Scheffler is an interesting person coming in to the Masters. I don't think I'm going to play him, but I think he'll get a lot of respect. The guy that I am going to play that might surprise you is Justin Rose. This has been a very strange run for Justin Rose, as I've mentioned many times on my podcast and show, leaving his swing coach right after COVID when he was down at the Bahamas. He changed equipment, of course, when he was the number 1 player in the world. Well, now he's went back to where he was, the equipment that he was using, Sean Foley as his coach. I think he's back to the basics where he was when he was the number 1 player in the world. And I think he showed some good signs last week at Zozo. I like Justin Rose at 7,700. I like the way that he's putting. He likes these greens. He's got experience at Augusta National. Justin Rose is someone that I'm taking a hard look at on how many times I'm going to play him with my lineups. I think Matthew Fitzpatrick is an interesting one at 7,600. He's one of those players. He's not gonna overpower the golf course. He can be a bit of a plotter and then really go to work with his putter. And he's bowed pretty well, around Augusta National. I think you have to take a look at Matthew Fitzpatrick at 7,600. Someone that I like is Phil Mickelson at 7,500. This guy knows a thing or two about this golf course. I've watched Phil closely. And, Phil, I think, is playing on house money for sure. He's had an incredible career. We know that. He goes on PGA Tour Champions and wins. You can see when you go out there, like, Phil has some good things going. Like, he still hits it a long ways. That's important to him. He's in good shape. But there are some pieces there where you just kind of feel like if he can get comfortable, he can make a little bit of a run. This is a golf course where you can spray it. This is a golf course where he knows where to hit it. He's got experience around the greens. I could see Phil here at the age of 50 making a run. I'll be playing Phil Mickelson. Another player that I like just underneath that is 7,300 is Cameron Smith. Cameron Smith, very quietly, has played some very good golf this year. He was T5 back in 2018. You look at him, of course, way back in January, he won the Sony, which feels like, my goodness, 5 years ago at this point. when they came back from COVID, a little bit of a rough start, missed 3 cuts, but he's just kind of slowly pieced it together. 18th at the Northern Trust, 20th at the BMW. He played at the Tour Championship where he was 24th, 24th at the Shriners, 11th at the CJ Cup, 4th at Zozo. He's putting the ball very well. I like Cameron Smith. You know, he knows how to get around this golf course. He'll be someone that I'm playing at 7,300. Here comes Jason Kokrak at 7,000. I'll be playing him. He won the CJ Cup. It's just been a strange year. I mean, like since they flipped the switch to 2020, 2021 on the PGA Tour, which started at the Safeway, which Stuart Sink won at 47. And then here comes Hudson Swafford winning. He was on the Korn Ferry Tour just a few weeks before that. You know, Brian Gay wins when he comes in missing 9 out of 10 cuts. It's just been a strange year. And, you know, Kokrak gets his first win there in Vegas, follows it up, plays well at Zozo. We know that he has the distance. He can hit it a long ways. The approach game, I think, is solid. It wasn't last week at Zozo. It cost him, but he's been putting brilliant. I mean, brilliant. Positive 10 at CJ, positive 5 at Zozo. He keeps that going with his length. Jason Kokrak is a great play at 7,000. And then all the way down, I'll give you one more name here. All the way down, probably the lowest I'm going to go probably is Siwoo Kim at 6,800. Don't let that miscut fool you at Houston. 17th at CJ, 8th at the Shriners. You know, he didn't hit the ball very well there at Houston. But this is a guy, you know, strokes gained tee to green. He can go. He can gobble you up. And I like Siwoo here, especially in wet conditions. I think someone at 6,800. Hey, I don't need him to win. Just give me a top 20, a top 25. I think Siwoo can do that. That kind of player. You look, he was 8th at the Shriners. He was 3rd at the Wyndham, 13th at the PGA. Yeah, Siwoo checks the boxes for me and bounces back after that stretch in Houston. So in this group here, I like Rose, little Fitzpatrick, Smith, Kokrak, Kim. Those are some of the value plays that I'll be looking at as you fill out your lineup, and that's going to be the show. Get into fantasy golf. It's the Masters. Thanksgiving's right around the corner. It's the holiday season. Let's win a little extra money. Go download the app. Use promo code Travis, and you got a shot at millions of dollars. It's a $4 million Millie Maker, $1 million to the winner, but all kinds of ways to play fantasy golf. Draftkings, they're the leader in daily fantasy sports. Thank you so much for joining me here on the matchup, and thank you for watching the shows throughout the year. I think we'll probably be back next year when the tour starts back around in Hawaii. We'll see. A lot of moving parts, but it's been a lot of fun doing the matchup and bringing my picks to you. Enjoy the Masters.